Hello and welcome back to the Skill of the Month Club. We're still in month 2, which is old-fashioned cooking. And today I have a very special guest. This is Melanie Lynn from the YouTube channel Road to the Farm. Melanie is one of the few people that I actually know from YouTube. I don't actually watch that much YouTube, and I don't have very strong connections with a lot of the people who also have channels, but Melanie's an exception to that. We just hit it off and we visited her last year, and this time she's come to visit us. She's the very first overnight guest in the little house, and we just stayed up all night last night. And we really, like children, we almost beat out the boys as far as how much chatting we had to do. So what we really want to get into today is motivation. And we make it a little touchy-feely, and that's partly because Melanie and I are just both kind of deep people. And I'm not kidding. We stayed up until nearly 1 o'clock in the morning talking about this stuff last night. So this is who we really are, and we're just trying to be generous about it. So I'm going to ask Melanie to share some of why you homestead. What motivates you to homestead?
Yeah. So for us, homesteading is all about food, and it's because of our food allergies. And it's also because as we learned what food was doing to us, we learned what we are doing to food also. And so that was something that we just felt like we couldn't be part of a system that kills the soil, closes animals into spaces that's unhealthy to where they have to be treated with antibiotics and all of these things that are just unnatural. So we felt like we really, for us to, in good conscience, and to really know that we were taking care of our family, we needed to do the best that we could to grow and harvest as much as we could from where we're at. And so we work really hard to garden, and we finished our first year last year, and that was so fulfilling. So really the reason that we homestead is so that we can lay down at the end of the day and know in our hearts that we've done all that we can to prepare and to nourish our family. So that's what homesteading is about for us.
Oh, and I think that's so important, and I think it's not that common. So, I do think it is common. I think there are a ton of people who want to homestead for exactly that reason, just to be able to have self-respect at the end of the day and to say, we live in this crazy world and there's a whole bunch messed up, but I did my best.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot of people out there who just want to live like that. And I think that some of the media around homesteading, kind of the trend of homesteading, is not exactly that.
Yeah.
So certainly no criticism towards anybody, because it's not good for my heart to criticize. I just want to value what Melanie is saying here and how it inspires me to just be the best that I can be in every moment. It doesn't matter what the result is.
Right.
We're measuring by other characteristics, and I just think that's really, if I could only share one thing, ever in all my hundreds of videos that I do.
Well, it's the driving force behind all the videos that we do. It's the reason that we're on YouTube, is because we want to inspire that message.
Exactly. Can you tell people a little bit of how you cook, what kind of things you do to prepare food, and what that means in terms of your family and how you interact?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're gluten and dairy free, so if you don't know that about us, and the only grain that we eat is rice, and it's not for any religious or spiritual reasons. It's just because that's what our body tolerates. So that means that I do a lot of, well, not a lot, almost everything we eat is prepared at home. So there's a few things that we can purchase, but they're expensive, and so we work really hard to grow our food and as much of it as we can, and we're very careful about what comes into our house so that I can protect my kids. So I'm very mama bear when it comes to food. And so I can a lot of food, I dehydrate, I freeze. Like I said, we work really hard on the garden so that I can feed them, so that they're really well taken care of, so that when I put something on the plate, I know that everybody's safe. And not only are they safe, but that I've taken the steps to really nourish them. That food isn't just here, fill up your bellies. It's let me nourish you as a person.
So let's talk about clean eating. Knowing that we aren't we are not interested in judging at all. And we've both been in places, different ways, but I'll speak for myself. I've definitely been in a place where I thought, clean eating isn't something I have access to, and therefore I'm going to be seriously grumpy at everyone who talks about it, right? So if you're there, cool, click away, come back to us later. I totally get it, right?
Yep.
But let's also talk about what clean eating is and why we do it.
It's so funny that you say that because I was raised, my mom was very much a crunchy mom before that was a phrase.
Uh-huh.
And so it was all, we had whole wheat pie crusts and, all this stuff that was very healthy. And as soon as I got married and was out of the house, I'm like, heck no.
Right? Wonder Bread.
Yeah, right.
Totally.
So I had my rebellious moments where I really walked away from that. And then I had all these health crises, and I came running back to the things that I knew on how to nourish my body. And so I totally relate to what you're saying on that. But clean eating, in a lot of ways, it really has to do with my conscience. Am I contributing to this big food machine that is spitting out, food products instead of nourishment? And so, that's kind of the way I think about it. When you look at the package or you buy something, are you buying an ingredient or are you buying a product? And so that's what it means to me.
And we've already been talking about old-fashioned cooking in terms of ingredients. That's exactly what we've been talking about. And having the skills to be able to combine ingredients and to feel like you can create the dish rather than having somebody else decide what is or isn't food, and then you just purchase that product. So that's definitely going to resonate with what we've been talking about the last couple of weeks. So you also have a family.
Yes.
And how does your family feel about clean eating? Right?
So, yeah, this is something that we decided to do as a family, partially because I am not very good at controlling my temptations. If it's in the house, I'm going to eat crap.
Right.
So I can't feed one thing to my kids and eat another thing. Plus, if I'm going to eat quality food, I want to feed my kids quality food. So I have 5 children. They're between the ages of 3 and 14. And we just decided we're just going to jump wholeheartedly into this, and we did. And we cleaned out the entire house and did it cold turkey. And that's what worked for us. But, I've coached other families along the way, and they did it one product at a time. It's like, okay, well, we're going to replace the milk with this milk. And then we're going to do this for this item. And they slowly got to the exact same point that we did, and it was right for them. So I think there's a lot of different ways to do it.
So what do you do, or what are your thoughts for that moment when you just hate cooking? And you just don't want to do it?
Every single day. So this is something funny that I fight with constantly, because my channel is slowly turning into just a food channel, because it's the reason that we homestead. We homestead for food. And I cook for food. I do everything for food. And the truth of the matter is I hate cooking dinner. I really hate cooking dinner.
True confessions. You heard it here.
So it's something that I fight with continually. But it's something that, there's times where I just have to give myself grace, and we eat a baked potato that came out of the microwave. And that does happen. But there's more often than not, I have to just say, I know that this is the right thing to do. And then I always feel better when I serve my family because of who I am. That's something that fills me up, is serving my family. And when I get really me-centric, which is easy to do, then I lose that fulfillment that I gain from serving my family. So I usually have to just stop and just like, okay, it's time for an attitude adjustment. It's time to move on. And then I just feel so much joy once it's over with. And I say, come on, Mel, why did you have to fight through all of this? But it is a struggle more days than not, in complete honesty. I've recently started meal planning just because I find that whether I want to do it or whether I don't want to do it, my kids have to be fed. Right. And since I don't buy, here's a meal that I can hand to them, then they start to get fussy, and it works against itself if I'm not prepared. So that's one thing that's helped tremendously, is removing my brain from the process. I apply my brain one time a week and I write it down, and then I don't have to think about it in a willpower sort of a way. It's just like, okay, Mel, it's time to go get it done. So that's one thing that's been really, really helpful for me.
Let me just jump in on that, because we also talked about record keeping a lot last month.
Yeah.
And I think that's a perfect example of how I use my Homestead binder as well. It's not because I want to waste time, and it's not because I want to tie myself down. It's just I do the thinking once, and then it's kind of like the path is open to step. So I completely agree with that.
Yeah,
but what else were you
because
going to say?
I get so caught up in here, and then I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to cook, or I'm such a forgetful person, which you found out this weekend. But so I'll just forget to make dinner until it's too late to thaw something, or something like that. So that's a big help. Some of the other things that I do is I just have to, I don't know, I guess it's just kind of put your big girl panties on and get in the kitchen and get it done.
Right.
But also, there's times where I really have to just check myself and say, the thing that is more fulfilling to me than anything else in the world is serving my family, because that's who my personality is. And so I have to just have an attitude check and just say, you know what, this is going to bring you more happiness than sitting on the couch and ignoring them. And so that's another thing. But, there's a lot of hard work. I don't know what else to say, but there's a lot of hard work.
But it gets you to that point where we started, which is
Right.
that you end the day feeling like you did your best.
Yep. And I think there's nothing more fulfilling than going to bed tired. You got to the end of the day, you can lay down and know that you worked hard. And I think when you can go to bed tired, that's a really good feeling.
Well, this stuff is applesauce.
So practical terms, if you want to feed your children healthy food and they don't want healthy food, we get this question a lot, right?
Yes.
So what do you do to help your kids to actually eat the food that you think is good for them?
Well, there's a few different things. First of all, I remove the temptations, and those don't come into the house. If we want to treat them, we take them to the treat rather than take the treats home, for the most part. That's what we do. So, we don't keep a lot of like chips and snacky things, because, I'm just the same as them. That's what I gravitate to as well if it's in the house. So we don't do that very much. And then, I've got a couple that really tend towards the carbs or the starches, and that's all they want. And so I always say, okay, well, that's fine if you have that, but let's have, 2 vegetables for every whatever biscuit that you're going to have. So you have those first, and then we'll talk about biscuits and breads and those kind of things. So those are practical things that we do.
And you already know from listening to my talks that I do keep treats in the house. And that's partly because I get into a real scarcity mode and fear of not having enough if I don't have some treats in the house. So if you are not exactly like me or not exactly like Melanie, it's probably useful to think about what's right for keeping your family and your heart healthy, because we have a whole big we have storage of chocolate chips.
We always used to, and we could eat them too. Yeah.
So that isn't just that we have a few chocolate chips around. Like, I have a year's supply of chocolate chips in the basement, and that's the way it has to be.
Well, we keep ingredients for treats.
Oh, sure.
Absolutely. So I want to always be able to, like, we put up a video not too long ago about how we threw an impromptu party, just spur of the moment, just because the baby girl wanted to. And so I pulled stuff out of food storage, and we had a party, and it was all this stuff that we had on the shelf. So we keep ingredients for treats, absolutely.
That is great. Yeah, that's wonderful. Part of the reason that Melanie and I wanted to share all of this is so that you could see that we might share the passion for what we understand to be homesteading, which is this move towards self-reliance and the ability to go to bed each night feeling like we've really done our best. But it might actually look really different between the two of us.
Yeah, we're very much headed in the same direction. But for you, you've prioritized with the off-grid, and you're building your house and that aspect of it all, which is exactly what we're really working towards. Whereas, for us, the food part of it was the really big now priority that's what we've poured our heart into. So we're kind of working towards each other.
And the whole point of the Scale of the Month Club, too, is to realize that you can intersect with this worldview in any place. There's so many different doors that you can come into, getting this end goal, which I just think Melanie said it as well as anybody, that it's just being able to go to bed each night feeling like you've done your best that day.
And I think it really can happen even on an urban level.
Oh,
if
sure.
you don't feel like, you don't have the pull towards off-grid or growing all of your own food, there's so many ways that you can buy from the grower, or you can get on Craigslist to buy your meat from somebody who's just raising an extra, or, there's so many different ways that you can opt into the same clean eating without having to go to this extent if this isn't the correct model for you. Go find your model.
Great. Go find your model. That's a good place to leave it. So you've been hanging out with us on the Homestead Scale of the Month Club. This is Melanie Lynn. And I will attach her channel below. And also she's got an ebook out, right, about muffins. She's got a muffin cookbook.
And it's all like what we've been talking about. It's clean ingredients. It's written as gluten-free recipes, but it can be used with all-purpose flour as well. But I wanted to be able to give my family something that was a bread-like product, but didn't have all those strange gums and fillers that gluten-free foods have. I wanted a whole food, product to give to my family. So that's where it came from.
And I can vouch for it. Anybody who watches our other channel has already seen us eating away at Melanie's delicious muffins. So thanks for hanging out with us today. It means a lot to us. I hope you have a great Valentine's Day and a great day today. We'll see you next time.
So these ones are banana, and these ones are lemon poppy seed.
How's that muffin, sweetie?
Right, and also, you give it too.
My arms are getting too short for how tall you are.
Yeah, she's not really a baby anymore, is she?
We like to pretend though, huh? There you go, little miss. You're tired of guests, huh? Because they kiss you.